Thank you. All right, we'll call our regular council meeting to order at 6 p.m. And I'll get started with our land acknowledgement statement. The town of Coalhurst is located in traditional Blackfoot Confederacy territory. None of the Blackfoot people and their traditional ways of knowing and caring for this land, as well as all Indigenous peoples who have helped shape and continue to strengthen our community. So moving right into this here, we've got the agenda. Is there any objection to the agenda that's been presented? Okay.
No objection.
Thank you. And moving on, we've got, where am I going here? No public hearings. We do have two sets of minutes here. So the first is from our regular council meeting. Is there any objections to the minutes?
No objection.
Thank you. And then also from our committee of the whole minutes, is there any objections to those minutes?
No.
None?
No objections.
Excellent. Thank you. So we'll move right along here. So we have a delegation today. So we've got John Mulder here to talk to council about land for business in Coalhurst. And so the format for this is that you're welcome to either sit there or you can come join us at the table here. What we'll do here is that we'll allow you time to present, and then council will ask you questions if they have any. With this, it's just an information gathering session today. Yeah. And then if there's any follow-up, we will get back to you with that.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for allowing me to come to this meeting. I was very late on Friday, but Karina graciously let me in. Thank you very much. We have been in Coalhurst for a long time. Since 2000 or shortly after 2000, we started heating business in this area. We moved into Coalhurst in 2010 and have been on the corner next to the fire hall for a long time. We are leasing that property, or the building that there is. It's got now plastic over it because it's falling down on us. It's become too small for us. Our lease has been up for a couple of years already, and since 2021 I've been looking for property around Coalhurst and in Coalhurst. I've checked the municipal development plan. I've checked the intermunicipal development plan with the county. There is land available on the north side of town there, but nobody is willing to sell anything. It's not developed. It's land that's in the plan, but it's not available. There's land on the Coalhurst Municipal Development Plan on the east side of town, around the wetlands now. I'm not sure if that plan was made before the wetlands came, but it seems like there is no land available there either. I was dealing with Kim Hata back in 2021, trying to find a place to buy and to build a shop. And together we were looking, and then all of a sudden this property became available that the county was selling, that they had on the east side of town, on, I'm not sure what the road is called, but it's called the Greater Shed property. It's 223. 223. And he says, hey John, I got here something, and maybe you're interested in that. I says, yes, I'm very much interested in that. And at that time, we discussed it at length. We put in an offer to purchase, and then everything collapsed. We had a new council, Kim was gone, and we started from scratch. We talked with Mike for a little bit there about it, Mr. Passy, when he was interim. Then I've spoke to Mr. Kaufman when he was interim. And now I've been speaking with Mr. Patience for the last half year about seeing if anything could get done. And he says, well, we'll check out on the engineering and see if we can get services there and so on. The last word was last week. It says, sorry, John, we can't get service there because there's way too much money, so it's a no-go. So that's why I'm here now and put in a plea to please look at that again. I have sent letters to Kim, I've sent letters to Kaufman, I have sent letters, and I've spoken and say, I don't need services. So if that land now on 223 is unserviceable, it becomes kind of a burden on you people's back, because what are we going to do with that, right? There is an acre and a half that is on the east side of that property up against road 223 where the Greater Shed sits, and that's about an acre and a half up to the gas line. because there's a gas line goes through there, nobody can cross it unless there's some proper road built over it, right? And I think that's part of the big cost. I can have that piece of land, I'd gladly buy it. That's the piece of land that me and Kim were talking about already 3 years ago. I'd gladly buy it, either the whole 5 acres or the acre and a half along the road. I have gas there, I have power there. For water, I can put in a cistern like every other farmer in the country has a cistern. I can put in a septic field because there's enough land available there to put in a septic field, or I can just operate off a septic tank. So it's my petition from council to please reconsider that and say, yes, that land is really no good to us, we will sell it to you.
Great. Well, thank you for coming to speak with us today. I appreciate that. And as you're laying out all the different changes that we have had a significant amount. So I appreciate the process that you've gone through, and just thank you for coming to speak with us directly. I'm going to ask council if there's any questions from anybody.
I guess if I could, please. So is that specific location something that you're locked into, or like what characteristics are you looking at for a piece of property?
I am not locked into anything. I'd like to get an acre of land to build a shop on, and I want to stay in Coalhurst. And that is because we have made our home here, we have our customers here. John here, he's a lieutenant in the fire department and he wants to stay there too. He doesn't want to move, right? So that's why we say, hey, we want to stay here. We're part of Coalhurst.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. And so really, that's it for you. You're just looking for an acre somewhere that you can build a shop. So it's about not just about the size; it's also about sort of the land designation.
Well, I need a certain acre to have my shop on and to have enough yard to put my vehicles in and things like that. So, yeah.
Is there any other questions from council? If there's not, thank you very much for coming this evening.
No problem.
And we will be in touch with you, I'm sure.
I appreciate that y'all listen to me. Good.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You too. Bye now. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna just keep moving along here. So we have the Director of Corporate Services report, which is in front of you. I'm going to go to council and just ask if you have any questions on the report. If there's none?
I have an indication that it's really well written, that there's no questions.
Good job.
Happy to hear.
If there's none for that, we'll move on to the Director of Community Services report. Any questions or comments?
I guess if I could please, this isn't specific to your report, but I guess through the mayor to our Director of Community Development, you've come into a position that has been non-existent up until this point. So are you creating it as you go, sort of with our CAO, or what is this looking like?
Go ahead.
Through the mayor, thank you very much. I don't know, well, I suppose so, because we're trying to figure out exactly what this looks like and how it functions within the organization and that sort of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a lot of laying foundation work right now and trying to put processes in place and make sure that I'm understanding how the organization works and learning more about the town and the functionality of the different community groups and that sort of thing. A lot of the work that we're going to be doing and a lot of things that I need to understand better will come from the start of the committees and getting rolling with the community events and the enhancement committee and that sort of thing. So, yeah, I suppose so.
Wonderful, thank you. I was thinking about that earlier today, and I thought, boy, if you were identifying gaps, you would be overwhelmed by by what you would be doing, so I appreciate that you are just doing that foundational work right now.
Great. Any other questions? There's none. Our other report that we have is from the Director of Legislative Services. Any questions or comments on this report from Council? Go ahead.
Just a comment, if I may. The calendar invites are awesome. Thank you.
Excellent. Great. Well, thank you for the reports.
Sorry. I have
Great.
one.
Oh, do you have a question? Go ahead.
There's a comment in here about the website has been updated. New templates set up in Diligent. So are we just talking about Diligent website?
Yes, thank you. I've updated the regular meeting of council and committee of the whole in Diligent, and also our committee's web page on our website
Oh.
has the updated information as well, where all the committee members are and our members at large too. So I try to keep those pieces up to date as we go along. However, I am still working on policy and bylaws.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions? Not?
I have a question about the legislative report.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Through the mayor to Carleen. I just had a question about the policy and bylaw. So you mentioned putting the policies on the website. Do you have a timeline for when that would happen?
Thank you, Councillor Florence. We have no hard timeline at the moment because the timeline is going to be dependent on the policy review matrix that I'm currently working on, which is benchmarking and reviewing every policy that we have, determining its priority against council priorities and administrative priorities, and then meeting with our senior leadership team to figure out an execution plan and how much time that would actually take to go through all the policies. So that, having all of those available to the public will be dependent on that project. In terms of bylaws, I am currently reviewing all of our bylaws that we have hard copies of and copies within our drive and determining the status of all of those. And once that information has been cleaned up, then we can put that on the website as soon as it's ready. So it's all time dependent on fitting that work in between routine legislative services work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So again, thank you for the reports. They were excellent to get caught up on those. Next, we're going to move down to bylaws and policies. So we have the municipal emergency management bylaw that is coming before us today for first reading. You will see that you have this in your package. I believe that CAO Patience has been the one doing the majority of the work on this, and since he's not here today, we won't be able to ask a lot of questions, I'm assuming, unless somebody else knows. So I just thought that we could bring this to council for the first reading, and then really dig into it and get into it when he returns, if we have any more questions. So with that is in front of you. Would anybody like to make a motion for first reading?
Sure. I move that we give first reading the bylaw number 450-24, a bylaw of the town of Coalhurst in the province of Alberta, the municipal emergency management bylaw.
Excellent. Is there any questions on the motion before I read it off here?
No questions.
Questions? Okay. So Deputy Mayor Ackerman has moved that council give first reading to bylaw number 450-24, the municipal emergency management bylaw. Would anybody like to speak to this? If there's nobody who would like to speak to it, I will then just call the question. So I just read the motion here. So again, the motion is moved by Deputy Mayor Ackerman that council give first reading to bylaw number 450-24, the municipal emergency management bylaw. I'll call the question. All in favor?
In favor.
That's carried. Thank you. So if we move along here, we do have the community center policy that is in front of us, and we had quite a lengthy discussion about that at our committee of the whole last week. And at committee of the whole, we made the recommendation that we approve this. And so I have the motion here. So I'm moving that council approve the community center policy C07 effective January 1st, 2024. I will first ask if there are any questions on the motion.
No questions.
And then I'm going to just go down the line for council and allow each of you to speak if you would like to do so. First of all, I will start with Councillor Potry today.
Sorry, maybe this is a question on the motion, I don't know, but maybe it's the wrong process, but I believe out of our committee of the whole meeting, didn't we have amendments as well as motions? I think Councillor Caldwell had made a motion as well, right? So, are the ones that were moved unanimously, I guess, were incorporated in here already? Okay, so it's only the potential one from Councillor Caldwell that.
It was the one that was defeated. Or like, which one are you referring to?
Okay.
Right, so we made all the amendments, anything that passed or there's unanimous consent.
Yeah.
It has been updated within. If there was a motion that was defeated, it is not updated within here.
Okay, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
No, I appreciate the work that's gone into this from administration and all the work the council's done this, looking at this policy, and you know, there's never, it's hard, like I think our CAO patients has said, it's hard to balance providing community use as well as balancing some kind of revenue as well. So I think this is a step in the right direction though. We've made a huge leap, I think, in terms of our policy, so I'll be voting in favor of this.
Great, thank you. We'll go to Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I just want to recognize all the work that's gone into this. I know the administration and council all shared lots of thoughts, so I appreciate all the feedback that everyone's given on this. But I'm happy where this is at, and I'm thankful for it being brought before us.
Thank you. Councillor Caldwell.
Thank you. You know, I also have to state that I'm grateful for all the work that's gone into this. I understand that this is not an easy task. And I suspect that I've not made it any easier for everybody here. I'm feeling more comfortable with the work, with what I'm seeing in front of me based on the work that we put in. I understand it took some time. I will always, however, question a policy that we have that that's not really rock solid for succession planning, understanding what our intent is. It would be nice if it was better reflected in here in terms of the donated booking policies. I'm never comfortable with a policy that states that we may be able to displace a community group that's doing events for the community by a paid booking. Although I know that the intent is that actually is very unlikely to happen for us. So I will sit with this one for now, and I will continue to hope that we continue to work towards expanding it a little bit more.
Thank you. Councillor Florence.
I have no comments on this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. And for myself, I'll just say that I am happy to see this in place and in action so that we can do some further review and refinement should the time come that we need to do that. Again, one last time, if people would like to speak, we'll go down the line. Councillor Potry.
Good, thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
No further comments.
Councillor Caldwell.
I'm good, thank you.
Councillor Florence.
No further comments.
All right, with that, I will call the question. All in favor?
Ooh, in favor.
The motion is carried. Thank you. All right, we're moving right along today. So we'll move on here now to our council reports. And so with mine, I just wanted to take a minute to thank everybody who has been helping each other out with the cold weather, whether it's shoveling sidewalks. I really appreciated that personally this past week. Boosting vehicles and generally just looking out for each other. I know that people were really diligent too, that if animals happen to be outside, to make sure to let people know so that they could get them inside during this cold weather. So it's just really nice to see our community come together and take care of each other. You can see all of my meetings within my report here, and nothing really big to report on. I guess the only thing that I did want to mention is at Mayors and Reeves, we did have a huge conversation about drought. And I think that right after that meeting, we saw quite a bit of information come out on the news. So this is something that is happening. It's huge right now, right? I'm really looking at this in terms of what does that look like. And so I think that within that meeting, we probably spent about an hour and a half discussing it and the effects that that has on all of the municipalities within this region. And so with that, obviously, I know that we started the work on that, but looking at what does that look like for us in this coming year. And so I'm sure that that will continue to be a large issue as we move forward. Is there any questions on my report? If there's not, we'll move on to Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I'd like to recognize all the individuals that stepped up to be a member of our committees. I appreciate the effort that you're putting forward into helping make our town a better place. So I want to say thank you. One thing I do want to highlight was from my report on the last meeting that we had. I wasn't here, so I'd just like to speak about that a little bit quickly. I'd really like to recognize the efforts of a resident in town, Brandon Gorham. Brandon had been working alongside our MP, Rachel Thomas, with asking the federal government to provide national park passes for current serving members and veterans of the armed forces. After 5 years of asking, as of January 1st, 2024, this has come to fruition. I think this is amazing and that a couple individuals can make a difference for so many. I want to just say thank you for your efforts on this, Mr. Gorham, alongside MP Thomas for this. I think this is a really big win, and it shows that no matter what community you come from, you can make an impact. So thank you again. And then going to, I guess, the meetings that I attended, the only thing that really stood out was the first ORSC Executive Committee meeting. So that was kind of nice to meet everyone and kind of see how everything's going there. For upcoming meetings, one of the things that I have as a to be confirmed is the appeal board meeting on January 30th. That will be taking place in Fort McLeod, so we'll be there for that.
Any questions for Deputy Mayor? If there's none, we'll go to Councillor Florence.
Thank you. So for my report, not a lot of unusual stuff. I did just want to mention a big thank you to the public works staff for their excellent job of doing snow removal, as per usual. We're very lucky to live in a community where we get the streets cleared so often and so quickly. And then I just wanted to mention that one of the events or the meetings I've attended was actually a webinar. So from Economic Development Alberta, and it was the impact of housing and rural economic development. And that was really, really good and really insightful. And a lot of what they talked about was how housing is integrated into economic development, and really what it came down to and what municipalities, how we're affected or what we can do about it was a lot around our land use bylaws. And things like that. So it was a really great conversation and a really quick session to have over the lunch hour. As well, they're putting on another one next week, tomorrow, and that's insights from the Alberta Ministry of Jobs, Economy and Trade. So looking forward to that as well. With the webinars and with the training, just part of my personal commitment during this time is to try to stay current on issues and try to do a little bit of training each month. So when these webinars popped into my email, I jumped at the chance to join in on them. So they've been really great. Another big thing that's coming up this week also is the local government fiscal framework discussion with the Alberta municipalities. And so looking forward to that as well. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Councillor Florence? Go ahead.
Yes, through the Mayor to Councillor Florence. Was there any resources that were presented as part of the Economic Developers of Alberta presentation that you could share with the rest of council, or was it all kind of just online, I guess?
It was online, but there was a slideshow attached, so I can send it to you. And I don't think there was additional resources other than the slideshow. It was more, it was an Ask an Expert series. So there was two presenters just quickly presented on best practices, and then it was kind of a Q&A.
Okay.
Yeah, I will send it around.
Yeah, I'd like to see that if you don't mind. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Great. So carrying on, next we have Councillor Colwell.
Thank you. I actually see that mine did not show up as a submission. Okay, so I sent it in and it's not showing up as a draft or submission or any form of report. So I'm just going to wing it from my memory. I too wanted to thank the community members that have really stepped up during this time. It was remarkable the number of people that were helping strangers out to boost their cars, shovel walks. It really shows the value that we have as a small community, the culture here, as well the Public Works Department for really going above and beyond when it was that cold outside. Many people just sort of snuggled in and they stepped up. So those were my two acknowledgements. As well, I would, since our previous report, really the only meeting that I have had is the Committee of the Whole meeting that we had. And then my upcoming, I had registered for that event, for that economic development event. So if you could send that information on to me, that would be fantastic, please. I was unfortunate that I had to miss that, as well as the Green Acres dinner. With this weather bouncing around, I tend to get some migraines that throw me off my game here. But yes, upcoming, I'm going to be taking a trip out of country for a few weeks, so I'm going to miss all of you here. I look forward to upon my return, jumping right back in and getting involved.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Any questions for Councillor Caldwell? There's none. Go to Councillor Coalhurst.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I missed the deadline, it seems like as well, so.
Has yours showed up at all?
No, I didn't even, I totally missed putting one in.
Oh.
I missed Carling's reminders, but now thankfully they're all on my calendar, so I'll know this again. The last 2 weeks, I had the Committee of the Whole meeting. The MSDA meeting that Councillor Forrest and I were supposed to attend this morning was canceled. There's no agenda for that. For the next 2 weeks, I have Green Acres Foundation orientation tomorrow. And then Wetlands Enhancement Committee, our first meeting is on the Monday. And then our Community Enrichment Committee, our first meeting as well, is on February 1st. So, and then another Green Acres board meeting on the 31st. Yeah, and I appreciate the presentation that Mulders came in here and gave, and I know we're all looking at it with economic development and land development in our region, and which is why, as my position on the Lethbridge Construction Association, I put my name forward to be on the Economic Development Lethbridge board as well. So that's that'll be starting up in February, I believe, is the call for board members. So yeah.
Is there any questions for Councillor Coalhurst? All right. So we'll move on to correspondence. So we do have the Fortis Alberta 2022 franchise presentation. Does anybody want to speak about this at all, or any motions from this? Not? Yes, go ahead.
I guess I just have a question. I don't know if this will be able to be answered or not. But on page 7 of their PDF, they're talking about outage detail. I was just curious what the foreign interference was, just because that seemed a little bit odd to read. That's on this slide with the down power line.
Administration, does anybody know?
Unfortunately, I don't have an answer for that one. Yeah, first weather there. Yeah, I think it might be one of those kind of capture whatever outside sources that weren't, we got weather, equipment failure, to me kind of like, and other kind of things that may have affected it. A motor vehicle accident that takes something out, or something like that would be my supposition, but I couldn't say for sure what that would really be about. Works for me.
It does sound kind of like aliens or something, right? Like,
It's a little ominous.
It is.
particularly learned that our greatest risk comes from us when we start to outstrip the grid.
All right, if there's nothing else for correspondence, then can I just get a motion to move into closed session? Go ahead.
I move that council, pursuant to sections 19 and 24 of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, enter closed session at 6:30 p.m. to consider item 50.1 land use bylaw.
Is there any questions on the motion? All right, so no questions, okay. Councillor Coaching has made this motion. Do you want to speak to it? I'm assuming nobody wants to. Okay. We'll call the question. All in favor?
In favor.
That's carried. Excellent. All right, can we get a motion to go back into open session? Go ahead.
Sure. I move that council return to open session at 7:01 PM.
Any questions on the motion? All right, Deputy Mayor has made the motion. I will call for the vote. All in favor?
In favor.
That's carried. And we have no business arising besides the motion there. So we are going to adjourn at 7:01 PM.